Welcome to another edition of the Wrestling Retrospective podcast. I'm your host, Earnest EJ Christian, coming to you as we are in the middle of Wrestlemania season now. We're leading up to WrestleMania 40. So we're going to continue celebrating WrestleMania. I'm joined here, of course, by, great friend of the podcast, James Big Jim Nies, host of the 3CT Wrestling Podcast. Big Jim, what's up, buddy?
Yo, what's going on, man? It's been, a couple weeks since I was here, but yeah, Mania season is upon us. Today we are, 22 days, I think, from night one.
Surprised I had to think about that, because considering how you track this damn thing from literally the day after the WrestleMania ends, and in fact, when WrestleMania 40 is in the back burner, literally the hour after, I think about 2 hours later, the 360 counts on the show 300. And
I always so truth be told, like I used to just post them daily, and then once like the pandemic hit, and then I started my new job, it wasn't always at like the forefront of my mind. So I schedule them out like a week in advance. So when I'm prepping all my 3CT stuff, I schedule them in advance so that I never miss one. So that's why, like, by the time I hit this point of the week, I'm not always quite on top of it, but
right. So anyway, we're gonna do that yet another watch along, and this time I picked the match, but I believe it's not just only a top WrestleMania match for me all time. It is actually arguably a top 5 match period for me I've ever watched in wrestling history. It is, of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin against Bret Hitman Hart from WrestleMania 13. Couple of stats from that night, of course. This was obviously March 23rd, 1997, at the Rosemont Horizon in Rosemont, Illinois. Attendance was 18,197 in attendance. The buy rate was 237,000 in North America. The tagline for this one, which I forgot about this, was Heat.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Now, obviously, look at the logo, the 13 logo, with flames on it.
Makes sense.
It's been obvious. But I didn't think the tagline was called Heat, though. Interesting. Even though
I didn't
Chicago.
know. I wasn't sure what the tagline on it was.
Yeah, maybe someone's a Miami Heat fan, I guess. I don't know. So, it was Chicago. Makes no sense. Before we get started, March 23rd, 1997. What the hell are you doing, Big Jim?
March of 1997, I would have been 11 years old.
God, I feel old.
And so I would have been in
11th grade? Sixth grade, maybe? So my kid is 10 years old. He's turning 11 in 3 weeks.
Sixth grade. I would have been finishing up elementary school that spring.
Do you feel old or feel young? Because I feel old.
I feel old as fuck, man.
Because I was 16 turning 17 at this point. I was I'm not mistaken, I was in my junior year of high school. Finishing junior.
Oh yeah, you old as fuck.
Yes, right. Junior high school down in Miami, Florida. I was watching wrestling for the most part on this time. But I was probably more at this rate because of my allegiance to Hulk Hogan, a WCW guy, than WWE. Even though I love them both. But wherever Hogan goes, I go. It was my mantra. So, yeah, lame in hindsight, of course, to say that. But, yeah. So, I love this match. And I also picked this match. I picked you for this match, too, because you, of course, you guys know Big Jim through all the platforms. The shows I host, the shows he's host. This was through the years. You're a massive Bret Hart fan. That is I'm assuming your favorite wrestler of all time. I assume that still stands today. And as you see on the YouTube page, of course, he shows the Bret Hart. I
just found this. This is from like the 90s. I can't make out the date. Trademark 1993.
Wow, that's amazing. What they call those again? Those things they call those
well, it's a foam hand, so foam finger.
Right.
Yeah,
foam fingers. Right.
I recently found it when I was going through shit in my basement.
So this is regarded as one of the greatest matches in history, and not just WrestleMania history, but probably arguably in the history of pro wrestling, and for many reasons too. Not just because of the rivalry, not just because the moment too, especially. Like, this is a lot of folks. Even though the Attitude Era started in 97, the official one was probably done later in the year. But the but people will say that the unofficial start of Attitude Era was probably this night.
Yeah, this is kind of where I think a lot of things started to change from a WWF company standpoint. When this feud in and of itself, because I mean, if you think about it, Bret really was the babyface throughout, Austin the heel throughout, but Bret was getting booed. Fans were just, I think it was just kind of the era that like, you know, not to steal a Sebastian Bach line, but like the Youth Gone Wild kind of time where it was kind of anti-authority and this and that. So a guy that, you know, told you to, you know, shut the hell up, and you know, you put the S in front of Hitman, you have what Austin thinks of Bret Hart and all of that, and flip off the boss in this. That was cool. I mean, who doesn't want to be that guy, right?
Right.
So yeah, it was the perfect time to make the bad guy a good guy and the good guy a bad guy. And it worked, and it worked to perfection that night.
And what's amazing too is it was a natural turn. I don't think WWE had plans of these guys turning like this. I think just the natural respect that Austin got, you know, from the time from his 1996 King of the Ring speech, you know, Austin 316, you know, a year earlier, to where we got here now, and then Bret coming back to the company after the hiatus from WrestleMania 12 and coming back in Survivor Series, and go figure, his first match back was against Austin, you know, at Survivor Series. Actually, another great match, which, by the way, I covered once before also on an old podcast of mine. Oh, actually, on Retrospective podcast, actually, a couple years ago. And that match gets lost in the shuffle because this match was just that much better.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of people, especially in more recent years, as you know, content like this show has become much more prominent, of people talking about historical feuds and stuff like that. And I've seen people within the last 6 months or so starting to talk about, is Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart each other's best feud. Obviously, like Austin and The Rock and Austin and McMahon were bigger money makers because of the way the business exploded. But Bret Hart really was the perfect foil for Stone Cold Steve Austin at that point. And we may not get the rise to Austin, because I mean, everybody points to Austin 316, and like, yes, that promo at King of the Ring is where the origin of the t-shirt began. But it really wasn't until this Bret feud really kicked up that Austin really gained steam on the mainstream top levels. So, and Bret Hart, I mean, he's had, I mean, countless Michaels, Owen, Yoko, you know, countless big feuds. But
that's definitely a separate podcast for you and I are going to do top 10 Bret Hart feuds in order.
Austin could be it, man.
No, right. And you know, a lot of it too. Also, Austin credits Bret all the time to this day.
Yeah,
for putting him over. Bret, you can argue Bret was the guy to put Austin over. This is the feud. This is the match, in my opinion, that made Austin who he is, and started a trek of, ooh, we could probably make this guy not just one of the top guys. Maybe this guy could be the guy.
And I mean, this match in particular, and obviously we'll see it, but they were, if you believe wrestler stories, because, you know, we know pro wrestlers never lie, and everything they say is 100% truthful, historically accurate. But the story is that Bret and Austin went to Vince and said, can we get color in this match? Can we get blood in this match?
Yeah.
And Vince said no. And they basically were like, fuck you, we're going to do it. They just did it in the ring, and, you know, did the whole do it anyway and ask for forgiveness. Yeah. And it turned out to be one of the more iconic, you know, blood shots in WWE history. So,
and for the record, you know, in hindsight too, you know, 20 something odd years later, this is probably the only watchable match in this entire card. We'll go through in a second. We'll do the watch along.
Mania, but I
got a great Mania. So yeah,
I'm good. I got the new
new IPA. Nice.
The new one.
So we'll get started in a second. I know we're hyping this up real quick for the listeners here. So obviously, timestamp is 1 hour 18 minutes 55 seconds. It's WrestleMania 13, or on Peacock, go to the WrestleMania tab, season 13, episode 1, of course. I know, annoying, but it is what it is. Better to have the material than not have the material. So I'm not gonna complain about it. You know what I'm saying? Do I miss the network? I do, but I'll take this better than nothing.
You know, I don't. Maybe I do. I have so much content that I absorb that I don't dive into WWE programming, like network Peacock programming enough. But I feel like I haven't really. I've never had really an issue with the Peacock switch. Sure, the seasons thing is a little goofy. I know there's been something that people say are hard to find, but I've never had trouble finding anything. The things that I want to watch are usually there. The documentaries, especially the new ones as they get released, are usually at the front of like the WWE hub.
Yeah.
I know I'm logging in today. They have like a Road to WrestleMania hub that has a bunch of like videos talking about the storylines of the biggest players and in some of these like playlists of the Rock and Roman and stuff. So like they have a great WrestleMania collection on there as well right now too. So
right, and they'll build on that in the weeks to come. Obviously, when WrestleMania 40 is in the rearview mirror, of course. Again, 1:18:55 is a timestamp. You need to pause this podcast to set yourself up. Go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if you're ready to go, we get this party started. We're gonna do a little commentary on Austin and Hart. Sorry, excuse me. I got a little excited about the future. Austin and Hart from Mania 13 in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And by the way, this is a submission match for the record. So
yeah. You know, even back in this era, they were doing the montage videos to lead up, and we're in the midst of one here.
Speaking of montage videos, I will say one of the most underrated things about New Generation era, especially the tail end of it too, they made phenomenal montage videos. For any,
they always have, man. Always,
yeah,
always.
But this
WWE,
era especially, they did a phenomenal job with it.
The WWE video team, man. I mean, this era, I know the one. I mean, this one's a great one. The one leading up to WrestleMania 12, the Iron Man match, like the young stallion Shawn Michaels, the old dog Bret Hart, like the contrast between the two superstars. Those videos were fantastic. I mean, still one of the best ones to this day. Is the Austin Rock before WrestleMania 17 with
the Limp
Bizkit, man.
I'll be honest with you, I love the Mania 19 one just as much. To be honest with you,
yeah, I mean that all of that stuff, but even to this very day, man, like the WWE video crew, they never cease to amaze me. I'll be really interested to see the ones for Mania this year, and I guess they show them in house. I've never been to a WrestleMania, so I'm going to find out.
You will that will come to an end in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So it's but I'm curious to see if they air those. I would assume they air them in the.
I have constantly said for years, and it's funny. I did a deep dive on this about 5 years ago when I came back to watching the current product. I just did it because I just wanted to do it. I'd watch all the Raws and all the main event, all the pay-per-views and all the Raws in 97. This is to me Bret Hart's peak. Like this year was Bret Hart's this 97 Bret Hart run was to me what minted him as a all-time great. Because
absolutely.
We've seen him as a heel before in the past, obviously with Hart Foundation back in the day. But the way they did this was this phenomenal. By the way, you're gonna see probably my arguably my top 3 favorite Austin entrances ever here.
Yeah, it's a good one.
This entrance.
Yeah, it's a good one. But yeah, 97 Bret Hart, the thing that was so great, because really, I mean, from the time. Basically, from the time that the Hart Foundation became a babyface tag team with and like won the tag team titles, and I love backstage shots when watching.
Look at this shit.
Superstars come out, and then just boom, with the glass breaking and falling down. That's perfect. Like that's like one of the most perfect entrances
The crowd shots too.
for
Look at
Austin
the
I've ever seen.
attitude. You're seeing the turn. You're seeing like a lot of like. Obviously, Austin is the heel coming into this match, but you're seeing the support out there too. Also, you're seeing the flipping of the characters and just the
dude. It's wild to think that building. You know, when you think about some of the arenas and the new state of the art buildings that WWE and AEW travel to today, that not only is this building still standing, the old Rosemont Horizon, but this is where CM Punk just returned at Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
Like WWE, they don't really go to the United Center.
I'll tell you what, too. Also,
they always go to Rosemont,
and I'll say this too. Rosemont is actually one of the staples of this company. Honestly,
yeah,
I've been in for years.
Because was WrestleMania?
Yes, it was a WrestleMania.
Two, wasn't it?
Yes, 2 definitely was there, and they've done other events there too. Also, in addition to that,
yeah, they're always there, man. They're always there. So it's a historic building, for WWF. But yeah, but back to Bret in '97, like from the time the late '80s, early '90s when the Hart Foundation turned face. And
in 88, yeah.
Basically from that point until 97, Bret Hart was a babyface, and he was the same guy. He was the excellence of execution, best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. He was kind of once he started getting singles titles and the WWF title, he kind of just became like this superhero, I think, is even as he's labeled himself. In like his book and in documentaries, like he just kind of became like this superhero for kids because he always tried to do things the right way, never cheated on all of that. And really, if you think about it, even in his matches through 97 up until Survivor Series,
yeah,
he never changed what he did in the ring.
No,
the only thing that changed was his attitude towards the American fans, because of how and he does that. He did that great heel thing of like, I didn't turn on you. I didn't do anything. You did this to me.
And he has a point.
He absolutely does.
But it fit though, that story fit where the company was going at the time. It fit where society was going at the time also too. The anti-hero. Stone Cold Steve Austin was literally the epitome of that.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why it always bothered me. I understand the financial aspect of why Vince said he couldn't continue paying the money he did after extending him in 96. But I always imagine, what if Bret did stay beyond 97?
To me, that is the greatest what if in wrestling.
Because he was so red hot, Jim. He was so red hot at this point.
Could you imagine? Like let's pretend in that world, which I love the way that this match started with just like the tackle, the punches. Now they're out in the crowd. That's Tony Atlas in the front row and Lou Albano.
That's correct.
But like let's just pretend that after, because everybody, the wrestling news, the wrestling like insider papers, had revealed that Bret was going to WCW. Okay, so like let's just pretend that 2 weeks after the screw job, Monday Night Raw comes on the air and Bret just shows up. Okay, like is just sitting in the front row of Monday Night Raw. All planned. Like he's actually still with the WWF. Could you imagine if he actually did like the NWO, the Scott Hall thing to the WWF? And he was there the whole time. That would have been huge. That would have been unreal. But then, stretching even beyond that, okay? Like Davey Boy Smith, Jim Neidhart, they went back to WCW. Owen Hart got left in WWF. Davey Boy breaks his back in the World War III match because of the Warriors trapdoor. Neidhart got back into drugs, which ended up, and granted, he lived until he was older and ended up getting, I think he ended up with dementia and or was in the early stages of when he passed.
Oh, really? I didn't know he had dementia.
Yeah, he was starting to have some memory issues. But Davey Boy, he got addicted to pain pills,
that didn't
which ended up killing him. And obviously, we know what happened to Owen Hart. If Bret doesn't go to WCW, Davey and Neidhart don't go. So maybe Davey Boy doesn't break his back. Maybe he's still with us. Owen Hart, there's a 99.9% chance he doesn't do that stunt.
Nope.
He's probably still with us. The chain of events, man, that was set off. And then Bret doesn't get kicked in the head by Goldberg and doesn't have a stroke, and hell, he's only 2 years older than Sting. Maybe he would have just retired.
And Bret was in phenomenal shape too here, and even when he got to WCW, like Bret Hart could have had a long career that Taker had and all these other guys because he took care of himself really well. And I've always said too, like with WWE, granted Austin did a phenomenal job in '98, but there was a little bit of a talent gap for a while because Rock didn't come Rock till later on that year. Shawn obviously gets hurt at Rumble, and then he's gone by Mania 14 for 5 years, or 4 years rather. So there's actually a question about, okay, we have Austin, yes. Taker is always dependable, but who's the other guy? And Bret was always the guy that was dependable.
But here's another wild thought in regards to the what if with Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
If Bret Hart isn't leaving for WCW, I think there's a better chance than not that he wins in Montreal. Okay.
Do you think that match still happens?
I think the match probably still happens because you had DX versus the Hart Foundation. And it came to a head in Canada. So like let's just kind of play this out. Let's say Bret wins that match.
Mm-hmm.
Bret may be the champion that goes into the Royal Rumble to face the Undertaker, which means Michaels doesn't clip his back on the casket and break his back. Bret may be the guy that ends up facing Austin.
Which, by the way, makes sense too, because technically that would be the rematch of the SummerSlam match from the previous year. So it makes sense within the ecosystem of the storyline.
Correct. And then Bret goes on, loses to Austin, which again makes sense at WrestleMania the following year. Maybe Michaels doesn't break his back. The scariest part of that what if is if Michaels doesn't break his back and doesn't have to leave the WWF, and then he ends up finding God and cleans his life up and gets remarried and all of that. One of the scary thoughts, we talk about the potential good that, Owen and Davey might still be here.
Yeah.
Is Shawn Michaels still here?
Right. He might be dead.
Because he was on a bad road, man. He was on a very bad road. And that back injury may have saved his life in the long run.
The only guy that's not impacted by Bret with all this is Austin. Austin's still getting that title no matter what. Austin was the mentor.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay? Austin. Yeah, he was. This match especially, it was a meteor that was not going to be stopped.
You know what it reminds me of? Actually, this is I thought about this a couple times. This whole scenario, and not to exact, but in terms of like what a loss can do for you. Spoiler alert: Bret wins his match, not Austin. Spoiler alert. If you haven't watched this match at this point, then I don't talk.
Right. It's 27 years old.
Exactly. There are a lot of instances where the losing wrestler ends up benefiting more than the winning one.
Yeah.
Take Steamboat and Savage, for example, in '87 after WrestleMania 3. Okay, and I'm Bret's your guy, right? But Savage is mine. And granted, there were a couple things that happened there that kind of made it even more cleared the way for Savage to that year from losing that title to winning the world title a year later in Trump Plaza at Mania 4.
Mm-hmm.
But Steamboat was phenomenal. Steamboat was arguably the second biggest baby face behind Hulk Hogan at that point in the company. But Steamboat also decided to take a little bit of leave of absence, like a few months, just because he had a first kid and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But Savage came away, even though losing that title, and was one of the hottest heels in the company at that point, and coming away with the big benefit because he was a phenomenal worker at this point. Basically, Savage is Austin in this scenario.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying?
Daniel Bryan. You think of WrestleMania 28 when he lost the World Heavyweight title to Sheamus in 18 seconds. Was kind of the launching point when you go back to it of the yes movement. People were so mad that Daniel Bryan got screwed.
Yeah.
In the opening match at WrestleMania, that it started a 2-year story that culminated in New Orleans.
Yeah. By the way, Ken Shamrock did a phenomenal job. And look at this move. Oh my God, hold on.
I love the ring post figure 4.
Yes.
Bret was so good at it. Austin sold the shit out of it. Bret was great at just banging the mat. Bret was so good at working a body part, whether usually it was the leg because it was to set up the sharpshooter, but just amazing at working and breaking a body part down.
I would argue Bret. There is no wrestler in the history of WWE, certainly. I mean, you can try to find someone better than that. That told a better story in the ring than Bret Hart did.
Man, yeah.
I mean, look at this. It's thorough. It's thorough. It's clean.
Everything he did had intention to it.
He sold well too. On top of that,
yeah. I still say his turnbuckle, like when he would take the turnbuckles chest first
every time. I love it.
The best.
Like they say, he took the business too serious. Well, he did because he took it seriously because he loved this fucking business.
Yeah, I mean, and what people forget is, you think of, the best athletes in the history of sports: Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana. Yeah, did those guys take football too seriously? Did those guys take basketball too seriously? Probably. I mean, Peyton Manning reportedly would be in the film room at 5 a.m. and then would practice and work out, and then he would be back in the film room until midnight. Right. Like, you can't
he gets hit in the back. He gets hit in the back.
That's not serious about your job.
Yeah, he gets hit in the back, and he's selling it perfectly.
Just sells the shit out of it, man. Like, and this isn't. I understand the business has changed and all of that, but I feel like that's one of the things that gets lost in a lot of big matches today. Is like right there, boom, just hits the turmoil and it can't even stay vertical. Like, it's just such a great job at selling. I just feel like there's a lot of guys now that like moves don't matter. Like, every big move is just a building block to get to the next one, where like here it's like that chair shot starts and stops with that chair shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Austin, I think you learned so much from this feud because Bret was the consummate professional.
100%. And when Bret
the little girl can see.
Oh, great. And like when Bret's and man, like that's the thing, is Austin comes out of this as the quote unquote like baby face, but you have these little kids that are their hearts breaking because Bret's getting hurt. Like, man, it's so good. But yeah, Shamrock was great. This is a great way to get Shamrock in the door. And familiar. I mean, that guy, he is just jacked to the gills at that point.
Yeah, he was. I thought they dropped the ball with him too. Also, I thought he did a really good job in his 2 years there.
Yeah, he probably somewhere in like the 98 to 2000 point. There's Stu. Ken Shamrock should have probably been WWF champion at some point in there.
I could have seen that. I could have seen it. I mean, they get an IC belt a couple times, so I mean, he's got some. Gold.
Yeah. But yeah, he probably could have done more. He's like, like everybody talks about like age of wrestlers and stuff like that, and guys being like Bret was 39 at this point, like,
yeah,
and was just and just was still great. Yeah, it just sucks, man. That WCW run was just such a bummer.
It was a bummer because the people who ran WCW,
it could have been no clue what to do with him.
They again, it could have been good. It had nothing to do with Bret.
It could have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. The wheels were already starting to loosen up and fall off. And then, of course, the Goldberg injury. It's like, I know people are like, well,
it's in respect of Bret, it is Bill Goldberg. Okay,
Bill Goldberg. Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, man, Bret's still just bitter. I'm like, doesn't that man have every right to be bitter? A fucking Bill Goldberg. Like, if you did something for your entire career, you built your entire life for it, and it got cut short. Because again, like, Sting just retired. The Undertaker just retired a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Like, and Bret Hart is literally only 2 years older than Sting. So theoretically speaking, he could have still been wrestling up until a couple of years ago. But it got cut short. And I guess accidents happen, whatever, but I guess there's been a clip going around. I don't know if you've seen it of Goldberg almost paralyzing Haku.
No,
in a match in WCW, like he went to like do like some sort of a throw or something, and like dropped Haku on his head. It probably could have like paralyzed him if Haku didn't have the strongest neck in the history of time.
And Haku probably killed him.
Oh, dude, yeah, I'm sure somebody in the back that night probably had to try to stop him.
By the way, this might be also the last Mania where they went with the 3-man booth of Vince, Jim Ross, and Lawler. Because I think
you might be right.
Yeah, I know Vince.
There's Austin busted open.
Vince is in commentary regularly anyway, but Vince is by the end of this year. By the time we get to Bad Blood, later in October of this year, it will be his last time on commentary.
Yeah, because then he becomes our character.
He's part of the show, Mr. McMahon.
Yeah, and then of course by Mania the next year we're post screw job and everything. So then he really started turning into the Mr. McMahon character.
We make it as WWF
That's another part of the what if with Bret.
What is it?
Is if that screw job doesn't happen, you don't get Vince McMahon doing the Bret Screwed Bret interview. You don't get really. That's where the Mr. McMahon character really came to be, because Bret went after Vince at the commentary table and was trying to stop Bret, and he spits in his face and this and that. And that was really the first time that they kicked the door open on the fact that like Vince really is the owner here, and he's controlling all the all the shots. And that's when that whole thing kind of got blown open.
Yeah. Yeah, before there was Austin McMahon, it was definitely a Bret McMahon.
Now here's where you start to see it. Like you're starting to see, if you watch Bret's facial expressions, that turn is starting, because like he kind of has this like scowl on his face,
aggressive,
of like, I'm going to do anything that I can to win. And Austin obviously busted open, knees bad. He's now the guy you feel bad for.
Yeah. I was wondering, did they plan a double turn, or did this happen naturally?
I think the plan was that that Bret was going to go over, that he that Austin was going to pass out. So that was going to be the sympathetic moment. So I guess they did kind of plan on the double turn, but I don't know if I don't know if they knew that it was going to go over as well as it did.
Right.
Because I don't know that they truly planned for how much like people would like love and appreciate like Austin's bloody face, that camera shot. And if you don't get that camera shot, it probably doesn't mean as much either.
Oh, what a kick in the jewels there by Austin. And Bret sold that too.
Perfectly sold. Look at that. Still down. Still selling it.
That's why I never understand people who don't like Bret Hart. I couldn't appreciate Bret Hart's work. You can say you could dislike everything he says, like off camera. He's too honest. He's this and that. He's whiny, and I get all that. But his in-ring shit, you can't touch. No one can touch it.
Exactly. And that's the thing, because there's some wrestlers that I may not, or in sports. I don't like Aaron Rodgers personally.
There's a bumper there, by the way.
Oh, there it is. So good, man. But I'll never deny how good Aaron Rodgers is on the football field. So like I can always separate the performer from the person. And yeah, you can dislike Bret Hart for being bitter. You can dislike Bret Hart and maybe it's because I'm a Bret Hart fan, but I'm like, dude, that man has every right to be bitter. That man has every right,
and I will say
to be grumpy and hold grudges and this, that, and the other. But yeah, Bret Hart is a worker. I mean, just absolute top tier. Absolute top tier.
Not only that, but bitter as he may be and come off, I believe every word he's saying. Yeah. I don't think he's lying at all. I don't like what he's saying, but I think everything he says about Hogan, about all the business and Bill Goldberg and all the
Bill Goldberg.
I think he's telling 100% the truth. I don't think he's embellishing.
I mean, he hated Hulk Hogan in the 90s.
Yeah.
He's been consistent. He was right. He hated Warrior in the 90s. Guess what? He was fucking right. Warrior's a piece of shit.
Yeah. He loves Savage.
Yeah, he loved Savage, loved Andre.
Yeah. By the way, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I think it's the only match I ever did really on TV. Bret against Savage in '87. This was when Savage ascent. But I'm talking about this, post-Mania 3 and Saturday Night Main Event. No, November '87. Their match.
Check that out. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
It's phenomenal match. It's also the time
those two guys are spectacular.
Savage at that point was just turned face also too at this point because he's feeling honky at the time. But that match with him and Bret, because Bret was still a part of Hot Nation, they were still tag champions at the time.
Yeah.
They might have just lost the tag titles actually a week earlier actually, but still, that match, phenomenal match. One of the most underrated matches.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they were tag champions earlier in the 80s.
Yeah, they
won them back at SummerSlam '90.
Right, they won the titles in January of '87, lost in November '87 to Strike Force. Yeah. And around that same time,
this is the moment. Here we go. Yeah. Full of blood
from a stone. Dude, love that shirt.
Love that shirt.
Good.
What a
shirt too. That shirt is so good too. Also, the blood from a stone.
Oh my gosh, yeah, where you just.
Yeah,
the blood drip coming down in the tooth gap is just that, like, it's one of those like accidental perfect moments.
So real quick, we'll do a start podcast on this down the road for Bret. Austin feuds. This is a W top 5 feud. What do you put this feud?
Yeah, I mean the Bret Austin is either 1 or 2, honestly.
So we have to give The Rock. We have to give The Rock Austin 1 because Height of Powers, of course. You're talking about the guys.
Yeah, I'll go Rock Austin 1. I'll go Bret Austin 2.
Who's 3? That's a good one. You got Big Foley you can use in there.
Yeah.
What about Savio Vega?
See, the crazy thing is because of Austin, he had the neck injury, and then then he was out a while. And then he did then he walked away. Like I don't know that outside of Bret, Rock, and Vince, which wasn't even like an in-ring feud, and there it is, match over.
Yep,
he's passed out. Bret says, "Fuck you, I'm not letting go." And this is where it gets even better. Like McMahon, I would go 3, and I don't know who the 4th would be, if I'm being honest.
So let's think about this quick.
Maybe Austin versus himself.
Austin, how about Austin Booker T? That was fun. I don't know if
that was a lot of fun, man. That the grocery store thing. He did a lot of fun stuff with like Kurt Angle. A lot of that stuff was done when he wasn't active.
Yeah. See, and this is the thing too, as we forget, Austin had such a short career in WWE. And even within the short career, he missed time in that short career too. On top of that, because of the injuries,
maybe Michaels, because that short feud was the one that led to his first title reign.
Yeah.
Austin still selling, still out.
Mm-hmm.
Bret celebrating the win, but look at him. He looks pissed. Like, that doesn't look like a man who just won the match, right?
Nope, not at all.
Mad. Some fans celebrating. Got some fans with
I think he's assessing. I think they decided this last minute. I think he's assessing what's going on first before he decides, okay, yeah, there's definitely some.
There we go. Boom. There it is. He's now he's a heel right there. In that moment, now he's a heel.
And Jim Ross is selling it too, also saying that's enough. That's enough.
Jim Ross was so good in this era, man.
Jim Ross is a great storyteller. Look at Shamrock. Look at this shit. Shamrock is off.
Whoop. Love that.
Now Shamrock will beat your ass in real life. Don't fuck with him.
That's a bad dude. That is a bad dude right there.
Yep.
I wouldn't fuck with him to this day.
Yep. You see him, he's still in great shape today.
Dude, like Ken Shamrock and Mike Tyson, there's not an amount of money you could pay me to fuck with those guys, even at their age now.
Mm-hmm.
Not a fucking chance. Have you seen any of Tyson working out for this Jake Paul fight?
Yes, I did. I posted some videos on my Instagram, actually.
Fucking terrifying. That's fucking terrifying, man.
I really hope that he really does beat his ass.
I mean, dude, like, here's the thing. Like, it's gonna be gimmicked. It's an exhibition. It's there you go. Bret's flipping middle fingers. There you go. He's pissed. Love it.
It was like a shoot.
Love it. Yeah, it was real. It was real to him.
Yeah.
It's the best part.
I think I think Bret loved being the good guy, though, honestly.
He absolutely did.
I think he felt a little tortured, but I think he understood that. Oh, look, I love this shit. Look at it. Stunner.
Fuck you. Boom. Boosh.
And away we go to the Attitude Era. Unofficially, of course.
Yep. Yeah, this is really where it kind of draws back to. It was a slow burn. It was a slow burning wick, but this is where it really began. Man, those old ass fucking monitors that the commentary team worked out off of. Those old black and white monitors. As a guy who's done commentary, I can only imagine what it's like to have to watch a little fucking 2-inch screen.
I think other than Andre giving Hogan the rub in Mania 3, I don't think I've ever seen a better rub from one guy than Austin got from Bret.
Ooh. That's an interesting one as well. Yeah, because it's one thing to win a match. It's another thing to get like put over to that level. And yeah, that one's a big one. That one's a big one right there. Some could argue that Brock Lesnar, I mean, Brock Lesnar was already made at that point though. But like Lesnar beating Taker, that's a hell of a rub. In hindsight, man, maybe they're wishing they didn't do that.
Yeah, I heard a story about that there's plans to scrub him from everything, like, which I'm kind of uncomfortable with going.
He kind of is. The hard part is you can't really erase anybody.
That's what I'm saying.
From the history books, you cannot bring him back. You cannot you can't really publicly acknowledge. I guess the beauty in the situation is like Undertaker doesn't wrestle anymore, so you don't really have to acknowledge Lesnar beating the streak. So there's really it's just a matter of there's really no reason WWE has to mention Brock Lesnar anymore because he was a part-timer. So it is easy to just kind of silently move away.
Do you believe that we have seen the last of him in WWE? So I lean yes.
Probably.
And I'll tell you why. Because if Vince was still in charge of the book, I think Vince would wait for time to pass and bring him back. Because it's no longer a Vince decision. This is very much a corporate now.
Yeah, it's a TKO decision.
Right. I don't think
they're smart enough to not touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
Now here's what I'll say, because to Brock Lesnar's fairness, he was never actually named in any of the documents, right?
Correct. And that's where I'm a little like, hold on a second, let's make sure.
But to be fair, they mentioned specifically a former WWE and UFC champion. That's literally one of two people.
Yeah.
That's Brock Lesnar or Ronda Rousey. And based on what Ronda Rousey wrote in her book, if you saw that came out in like the last day or so.
Yeah. I heard some quotes.
Yeah, like where she said like it was something, it was something about Vince having control over women, or so. Like basically, it doesn't sound like it was Ronda Rousey that was
yeah
in that inner circle, So to be fair to Brock Lesnar, I'm not condemning him, but also the WWE/TKO probably is just going to not bring him back, and if he ends up getting cleared in the matter, then he'll eventually get into the Hall of Fame, maybe have one more match. But yeah, if he can't clear his name, he'll never be, and that's the wildest part, man. So Vince McMahon will never be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
You think so?
At least not while he's alive.
Yeah, they probably do it. They might do it sub posthumously. Yeah.
Maybe
it's too fresh. It's too fresh now. And
but
especially in this
man,
era, me too.
I mean, even why, even let's say 10 years after his death, why bring it up?
Yeah.
Like why bring the publicity? Vince McMahon won't be in his own Hall of Fame. Brock Lesnar.
That's sad. That's sad.
Brock Lesnar, at one point, the youngest WWF champion. The guy who ended the Undertaker's WrestleMania streak. Probably one of the best physical performers in company history.
Mm-hmm.
Will never be in the Hall of Fame.
He's foreseeable future, yeah.
It's because if he clears his name again, why bring that up?
Agreed.
It's a wild thought, man. But the fact that those two guys and maybe still others, we don't know what is yet to be revealed. But those two guys not being in the Hall of Fame is insane.
To say it's sad.
Yeah,
I'm a Lesnar fan, a big one.
I've always loved Brock Lesnar, man. I've
my top 10 favorites of all time,
dude.
Because
day one,
he's an impact guy for me. He's an impact. A guy comes in and he makes an impact. He's just interesting. Whether it was the initial 2002 run to 2004, whether it's the 2012 comeback, or Cowboy Brock, or
Cowboy beat. Dude, Money in the Bank Brock and Cowboy B Brock were two of my absolute favorite fucking Brock Lesnar.
Yeah. Very, very sad story and all that, but we'll see. Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah.
And again, the remnants of that event, you talk about matches that stand the test of time. I mean, that one obviously stands the test of time, even with the blood, all that. As uncomfortable as it looks sometimes, like, I can't find many matches better than that one, honestly. Not just because it wasn't even so much even a technical prowess, although Bret had his moments. It's just that you're invested in the feud.
Storytelling.
You're invested in the storytelling.
The moment those guys entered the building.
Right. You have two guys that just knows how to tear a house down. Yeah. One guy on the ascent. Another guy at the peak was. I will say Bret, even though Bret won titles beforehand and all this stuff, I'll say it again. 97 Bret, his peak was powers.
Yeah, from now till the end of his WWF career was the best version of Bret Hart we ever had.
Yeah. So
one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. Fucking ever. If I'm making a Mount Rushmore of WrestleMania matches, it's on my Mount Rushmore.
Oh, without question. What is your Mount Rushmore? If you have, just off the cuff. I'm sure it'll change again.
That one.
Mm-hmm. Mine too.
Austin or not Austin. Michael's Undertaker at 26.
You're 26 or 25. Okay, cool. Okay.
Yeah, I'd go 26. I'd go. Man, that's
tough, isn't it?
Hard. The ladder match, WrestleMania 10. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26. 26 And
which, by the way, next episode of this podcast, we're going to be covering that. Myself and EJ and Rob, in honor of the 30th anniversary of WrestleMania 10.
Man, and it could be the recency bias of it, but I'll say the main event of, because I just watched it. I've been playing WrestleManias while I work on my TV next to me. I'll go the when Daniel Bryan won the title at WrestleMania 30.
I need to deep dive those.
That moment, like the Superdome, just everybody in the crowd doing the yes. I mean, it was unreal.
I need to deep dive the 21 through 34 Manias again, just kind of freshen up, because those are obviously the years I was not watching in the real time. Now I've watched those, like obviously the Heist and all those other matches. I'm watching in hindsight, and obviously great matches, all that. For me, obviously this one we just watched WWE Mount Rushmore. Savage Steamboat. I'm sorry. I know it's a cheap way to go out. No, I'm sorry. That match today.
No,
I watched it today still, and
that match is so good. I've watched it from time to time.
Yeah.
It holds up.
Yep. Like I want to say the ladder match too, also for Mania 10, but that's too easy. I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. Nothing from 15, definitely nothing. I mean, Rock Austin from 17 is amazing, but I hate the ending.
Yeah, the ending is a bummer.
Although, in hindsight, I love that we got a little bit of heel Austin again, because we got Austin's character change a little bit, so I didn't hate that part. Shit. I'm not gonna say it's about Rushmore yet, because I want to get more thought. I love Hogan and Warrior at 6. I do.
It's really good.
Great storytelling.
It was probably both of their best matches in WWF.
Oh, bullshit. Here you go. I'm sorry. Dude, you and I covered this shit a couple years ago. Savage Warrior from 7.
Oh, so good.
Fucking, because again,
that was my first Mania. Yeah, how I missed that one.
Yeah, the feud itself, investment, career match. Warrior just lost his title.
Bret Piper at 8's really good, by the way.
Say it again.
Bret versus Piper at 8.
That's in the conversation too, as for record. That one also is in the conversation.
That's probably in the best Intercontinental title matches at Mania conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Steamboat, Savage, and then that one, of course. Yeah. There's a bunch of them, honestly, that I can really, and honestly, there are a few recent ones actually I do like a lot too. Also, like Sasha.
Yeah, WrestleMania's the last couple of years, man, has been Sasha and
Bianca.
Phenomenal.
It's in the conversation.
Great match, and obviously the importance of it.
Right. I'll tell you what. Also, I know you agree with me on this one. Cody Roman from last year will be looked at as a great match as years go away.
Great match.
Yeah.
Cody Seth from 38 as well. Was really good.
No one, yeah.
But that match gets outshined by the Hell in a Cell when Cody had the purple shoulder.
That's true.
So
that's very true. That's very true. So one day we'll do about Rushmore conversation. I mean, right now that's just the ones off the top of my head. If I really deep dived it again, because there's a lot more deep cut matches that I do prefer more than main events that I have to remember again. That stands out for me, like the TLC match in 17.
Yeah, dude, so good.
Hello.
There's so many. It's almost impossible to make a. You almost have to break it down of like main events and then like Intercontinental title matches, tag title matches.
Yeah.
Because 40 years of matches, even at, let's say if WrestleMania over the years averaged 10 matches a year, which obviously now we're, a couple of years there was 19, 20 matches because they would shoot these little 2-minute matches in there.
I don't know how people made through those manias, those 7-hour manias. I can never do it. I'm actually more than okay with the 2 nights.
I've come around on it. Rumor is there's going to be 7 matches each night this year. That's more than fine.
That's more than fine. That's more than fine.
Yeah. Starting at 7 o'clock too.
So first match at 7 o'clock?
The main show starts at 7 both nights.
I'm okay with that. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah. So I mean, even if you go 4.5 hours, you're out of there at 11:30.
I mean, I come from a world where manias just start at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So this ain't shit for me.
But
I'm old.
yeah. So I mean, even if you average 10 matches a Mania, that's 400 matches. It's so many.
Definitely a top 10. We should definitely do a top 10 list of Mania matches, personal favorite Mania matches.
Yeah, we can do that.
And really deep dive this shit, like really go and get into the fucking weeds of like, okay, these are the matches. Like, I'm not saying to say, okay, George Animal Steel against X.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I'm saying?
The Hollywood Jackpot Brawl from WrestleMania 12, which I did love, by the way.
But by the way, Mania, I did like that too. Mania 1 and 2, for the record, I don't ever acknowledge, honestly. I really don't acknowledge 1 and 2. Outside of Savage, Steel, and then Hogan, Bundy, I don't really. I never.
Those Manias stink.
I can't watch it, and I'm an old school guy.
That's what I always laugh, man, when people talk about like certain things in wrestling, even in the last couple of years when WWE was really kind of in this this hokey period, and they're like, "This is the worst shit this company's ever done." I'm like, first off, go back and watch the early '90s, then go back and watch like the first couple of WrestleManias, because you have no clue what you're talking about.
I always say I'm a Golden Age guy, a Hulkamania era guy, but I always preface it by this, and I'll get you out of here in a second. It starts in '86 after Mania 6. Mania 2.
Mania 2
once
and 3.
You get to once you get to the middle of '86, summer '86. Well, I even say the beginning, but going to Savage won the title from Tito. But to me, the entire roster starts to improve a lot more in the middle of '86. That's that's my sweet spot. '86 to '91, '92.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there.
So, anyway, Jim, that was fun. This was fun as always. Plug away.
Yeah, you can hit me on Twitter at Big Jim Sports. I have my link tree there. It'll take you to all my shows. I have Discussions with a Nobody, which I dropped a new one of those last week.
About time.
Shut your mouth. Huddle Up Podcast. We just dropped the first of our off-season episodes today as we record this. We have another one that'll drop in 2 weeks. We got to get maybe one more then in the month of April, because then I'm on vacation for 2 weeks. So once I'm back, once we get into May, I think we're going to try and get on a little bit more regular schedule on those. But I'm still going to work on getting my observations out. Mikey and Jason have the mount. You are going to lock into AN 1 a little bit more.
I'm back. You see, I told you, I'm back.
There's going to be content on the Huddle Up podcast feed, so make sure you check that out. And 3CT, yeah, we are as we record this, we are 2 weeks away from the date of the first 3 Count Thursday episode 10 years ago.
Are you guys doing anything nice for that? I mean, obviously WrestleMania, of course, but
we're celebrating by WrestleMania-ing together, which is the fact that my first Mania, I believe it's Matt's first Mania. Ryan and Mark went to 35. And the fact that it's in basically our backyard on our 10-year anniversary year is pretty wild. But starting with this upcoming week's Tuesday podcast, I'm going to be pulling out some topics from our original 4 shows. I've gone back and listened to them, and we're going to I'll run down what we talked about, and then I'm going to pull a topic out of one of those shows. So that's kind of the way we're going to celebrate
that's pretty cool.
The 10 years. So it's freaking wild. I can't believe I've been doing it for this long.
It's crazy.
But yeah, I freaking love it. So yeah, that's coming up. But yeah, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, tell your family, because we try to have fun. That's the thing that I try to do is I don't look at numbers. I don't look at any of that shit. I love sitting down in front of a microphone and talking to my buddies and, checking out of the world for a couple hours.
It's the best, man. I totally get it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, it's your hang. Okay, so what do some people do? They'll go to the bar with their buddies and sit around and drink beer and
it's just no different. Think about it.
Watch sports and whatever and talk about shit, and that's what we do. We just do it in our own living rooms and basements, and
I'm drinking tea instead of beer.
Honestly, I had a beer.
I have a tea,
and then I had a BioSteel sports hydration drink.
Nice.
Yeah, these are they're sugar free. You should look into these, man. This is what the NHL uses.
Oh, nice.
It's yeah, they're sugar free. It's all from like sport juices, zero sugar.
Better than using Logan Paul's Prime that my son is obsessed with.
Electrolytes, no preservatives. Yeah, it's fantastic stuff.
I'll check it out, definitely. Anyway, Jim, that was fun.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on.
You got it.